We have a very inspiring guest today. This is Sahar Nafal, is the founder of the Bright Side of Life Women's Gatherings, is a community builder expert and a speaker who has devoted her business to assisting women building stronger, deeper, and more passionate communities. The Bright Side of Life Women's Gathering was founded in February 2008. It began quietly in Sahar's family room with 6 members, and now, 5 years later, enjoys 80 to 150 members who regularly attend the monthly gatherings. As we witness women leaders rising to the network to innovate and to belong to the biggest change in the world, Sahar's vision as a speaker is to inspire women all over the world to come together for great unity and collaboration. In her most recent talk, I Belong, Why the Human Heart Longs to Belong, she takes the audience on a deeper understanding of the journey of belonging to community as it relates to their personal, business, and global lives. In 2009, Sahar was named Woman Owned Business of the Year by the Women's Initiative for Self-Employment and was featured in the Wall Street Journal. June of 2011 and 2012, Sahar participated in the Shift Network Global Peace Week and Summer of Peace Conference, including Deepak Chopra, Marianne Williamson, and Indira Gandhi, and many other visionaries. Sahara shared the message of the gift of acceptance. The question I have for you is, how were you taught as a child about money initially? From your parents, from your caregivers, your teachers, whomever. How did that, how were you taught mentally and emotionally around that? And physically, of course.
Well, first I just want to say it is so wonderful to be sharing this divine time with you today, and I appreciate you inviting me. That's a really interesting story. It was more or less a contradictory one for me as I was growing up in Saudi Arabia. My parents did, actually my father, did very well. In fact,
what did he do?
So he was managing airports and specifically airlines in Saudi Arabia. We have traveled quite a bit throughout my childhood up till I was 12 years old, but the time I remember mostly in Saudi Arabia, where we were there for the longest time. So we lived a very comfortable lifestyle. We had even people helping us at home. We had the live-in nanny and who cooked for us.
So it was an upper middle class.
It's an upper middle class. Actually better. We traveled the world first class. We did everything. But yet, Cheryl, I heard lack of.
From your father, from your mother? So
from my father.
How did that come across? I mean, what did he say to you?
So basically, here you are, I'm a kid at age 8 or 9 years old, living a nice lifestyle, and yet what I heard was contradictory to what I was experiencing. And it was not enough. We don't have enough. We need to save money. Let's not spend. But it's not until later in life I realized it wasn't the lack of money, right?
Yeah. So you were kind of confused.
It was confusing time for me, and it carried on throughout my life.
Yeah.
It carried on because the lack of wasn't about the money. It was about love.
Okay. So you think that came from lack of love, which, this is what I talk about on my shows is, like I shared earlier, was all these CEOs and all the people at the top, they want more and more and more and more and more to fill that void that's inside.
Yes,
but anyway,
absolutely.
So how was your mother in this? I mean,
well, my mother passed away almost exactly 2 years ago, and she was my shiro. She was somebody who I looked up to. She was somebody who I truly, truly loved.
I like that. You said shiro.
Shiro, yes, it is. She is a shiro. She was an activist. She spoke on behalf of the Palestinian people. But the time that I was growing up, here's a wonderful thing. My mother always attracted money. Money was never an issue for her. Her relation with money was so beautiful, so pure, there was always plentiful. Versus here's my dad who is actually making good money, but yet there is a lack of. And talk about the contradictory. Here I am, and I grew up with this woman. Money is money, she always tells us. It goes and comes, but our life, our love and passion, that's what's important in life. And then here's my dad who's making a lot of money. We're traveling the world. We're having a wonderful time. We had the most toys out of all the neighbors, kids, and yet it's never enough. And so
what about your education? I mean, were you taught anything around money around in your education there?
In my education where?
You know, in Saudi Arabia.
In Saudi Arabia. I came here at age 12.
12, okay.
So I was not, I was educated here.
Oh, okay.
I came at age 12. I started middle school here and high school, and I graduated from San Francisco State University with intercultural geography because I love exploring about the world and what the world is all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I worked primarily in the travel industry. You know, my father, I was the eldest in the family, so therefore I followed my father's footsteps.
Oh, yeah, because he was in the travel.
In the travel industry. Yeah. And being the oldest, I honored that. And I even took travel and tourism classes, and I worked with him. But my journey with money was a very interesting one, where I worked with my dad, and he was the one who determined what was my salary. Do you see?
So did you like work with the company that he was working with?
When we came to the U.S., my father started a travel agency.
Okay, so entrepreneurial.
He's an entrepreneur.
Okay, so you basically grew up being from an entrepreneurial background. Went from what? How old were you when that started?
I was 16 years old. I was still in high school, and I was helping him part-time during the weekend.
Well, I can relate because I did the same thing from 14.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that was my first experience in working in business. But I was an employee, you know, I just helped him in the office. Right. But I did see the way he worked and so on and so forth. And so that was my first work experience, is working in the travel industry. In fact, before that, actually, I worked at Sizzlers, and then I decided this is not what I want, you know, the restaurant.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but my first experience of really making money, per se, is when I was working with my dad.
Okay.
And then it evolved from there. I started managing some of his travel agencies. He opened other ones.
Is he still alive?
He's still alive. He lives in Jordan.
Okay.
He's retired.
He moved back.
And he did.
Yeah.
He lived in
so you say Saudi Arabia, is that Jordan?
No. The Middle East has 23 Arab countries. Right. And so Saudi Arabia is near Jordan. I'm originally Palestinian.
Oh, okay.
That's why both of my parents are Palestinian.
Okay.
And then, but we did grow up, because of us being Palestinian, there was always for us to travel from one country to another, trying to find a place that we belong. That's why I'm so passionate about speaking on the topic of belonging.
Oh, sure. I understand. It's from your core, from your heart.
From my core.
From your heart.
From the heart. You know, I grew up, I was born a Palestinian too. Both of my parents are Palestinian, and I was born in Kuwait. And the country that, you know, never granted me a citizenship because of me being a Palestinian.
Oh, wow.
And then, of course, it is just a name on my passport. And then we moved to Saudi Arabia. And there, of course, I didn't belong. At age 10, I had to be veiled, not by choice. Yeah. Although we are of a Christian background. My parents are Greek Orthodox, we're of Christian Arabs.
You had quite a dichotomy going.
Oh, quite a bit. That's why I'm so passionate about sharing to the world that we all belong here in the universe.
Yes, every one of us. Yes. Well, with that, and because of your core passion, I believe that you are living your core passion right now with what you have to share in your business. And so please tell me about that.
Sure, absolutely. So as you have said in my bio, in 2008, I made a decision to start a women's gathering in my family room. And where that came from was from the passion that I had to really begin empowering, inspiring women to live the life that belongs to them, rather than them living a life that belongs to someone else. Yeah. And that was my pattern. This is my mission in life, is how can we live and own what we what truly belongs to us.
So do you think that that's even a deeper root because of the way the Mideast treat women, or just because you didn't feel like you had a home?
Yeah. It was a combination of everything. Obviously the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and it's nothing to do with politics, because the Israelis belong, the Jews belong.
Everybody belongs.
Everybody belongs. This is a beautiful universe, and we are all God's children. Absolutely. And we all belong. And I think my soul probably chose to be a Palestinian for me to be able to share this message. It's not necessarily how men treat women. It just happened that my journey of where I've traveled and my soul's journey had to go through those segments of my life in order for me to arrive to my true soul's purpose, and which is to teach and empower and inspire women.
So tell me, what spiritual principles do you apply or use with this?
Yes. So keep in mind, traveling all over the world, specifically in the Middle East, I have grown to parents that are Greek Orthodox. I had to learn the Quran. When I was in college, I chose to study Buddhism and Hinduism.
Yes, yes.
And then I have many Jewish friends. And so I have decided to adopt the principle of love.
Yeah.
That's my religion.
All-encompassing. All-encompassing.
Loving people for who they are. Giving the gift of acceptance to everyone. Not judging. That's what I believe in. And always, always be with your divine, connect to trusted source. One of my favorite quotes goes like this: if you knew who walked beside you at all times on that path that you have chosen, you could never experience fear or doubt again.
Amen.
And we need to always remember, spiritually, there's always someone besides us, and to love everybody for who they are.
And inside of us.
Inside.
I mean, that's where it all starts.
Inside
everywhere,
us. Yes,
everywhere,
everywhere.
So how do you apply this directly to what your passion and your purpose is?
Absolutely. So I am going through a transition right now, so this couldn't be a more perfect timing for me here.
Oh,
I'm
this
really
is good.
truly ready, Cheryl, to be stepping. I'm on the threshold of stepping into my true purpose. Now, for the past 5 years, I have been working and I have been the founder of the Bright Side of Life Women's Gathering, and I have been cultivating this amazing, wonderful group. And right now, I've always envisioned myself going out and speaking to women in the Middle East.
Oh, okay.
And this is truly what my passion is all about. Again, I know what my purpose is to empower, inspire, not just women, but everybody. My mission is to translate judgment into love.
That's what unconditional love is.
That's what it is.
That's what I talk about with the unconditional love.
That's what it is. And it is in order for us to really, truly begin to believe, and in order for us to truly begin to live our purpose, we need to know that we belong here in this universe, despite of who you are, where you come from, what is our background, despite how big or tall you are, what is your sexual orientation. It does not matter who you are. You are here, just you being here and choosing to be here in the universe is proof enough that we all belong here. And this is truly what my message is. And a lot of time, we tend to put layers and layers and layers of veiling.
So all filters.
Filters. I call it the veil because I was veiled at age 10.
Yeah, sure.
And that was the beginning for my pattern of constantly finding ways to veil.
So your freedom was kind of taken away at that point.
Absolutely. And it was.
So it was a forced thing.
It was.
I mean, you wouldn't do any otherwise because
I had no choice.
Your heritage is that. So it was conditioning, But
it wasn't really my heritage. It was the country's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was the rule of Saudi Arabia.
Oh, okay.
It was part of their culture.
Yeah.
I came. Typically, the Islamic culture, which is a wonderful, or Islamic religion, which is a wonderful religion. That, and I'll tell you a little bit about how my mom, what she did, but. It was part of the country's, principles, traditions.
It's tradition.
That you have to be veiled. And another thing was sad is because I had light complexion, blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah.
Talk about not belonging.
Oh yeah.
A Palestinian Christian, born in Kuwait, lived in Saudi Arabia, blue eyes, blonde hair. I mean, I stuck out like a sore thumb.
I'm sure.
And so, typically at the time, what I recall is girls back then in the 70s, they would be veiled at age 12. But Sahar had to be veiled a little bit earlier because of my looks and the complexion who I was.
Yeah, you would have gotten a lot of attention.
I did.
I
mean, I caused a lot of chaos and attention.
I'm sure. And I'm sure the girls were jealous.
Yeah, I was bullied. I was called infidel. They would make a circle around me to make me feel bad.
You had a lot of challenges.
I had a lot of challenges, but it was my lessons in life.
Of course.
Do you see?
And you chose to grow through it and to evolve through it. And that's the most important thing, is the evolution that we all go through. And it's not, oh, poor me. And it may be painful as it's happening, but that's, and I've said this in one of my past, the pearl, the sand rubs it, and irritates it, but it turns into this beautiful pearl, so that's what we go through. True.
And when we realize whatever stage of our life that we are in, we know that there's a lesson and be grateful for it.
That's the key.
Gratitude.
Grateful.
And again, another quote, I love quotes and I love sayings.
So do I.
The space that you are in right now, God circled on a map for you.
Amen, and thank you.
That's
why we're here.
And the more evolved, the more enlightened you become, the more connected to God and trusted source, the more, you invite God into your heart and the more you're able to shine, the more you're able to be who you are and authentically who you are.
So with that said, this might be a little redundant, but I think we can go a little deeper, is where do you find your true source of wealth? Well, let me ask you this. What is wealth to you? First of all, what's wealth to you?
Here's what wealth is to me, is when we unveil our brilliance and we shine, just like money shines. That's when we're able to attract whatever wealth we want in our lives. Because wealth comes within. We all have a treasure that's within us, and we all need to discover that treasure, so we're always, always ready to receive the treasures of the world. That's what wealth is. Also, wealth, to me, is relationships.
Yes.
That is more important than anything, being in relationships with others and learning about their wealth, their inner wealth. And that's what wealth means to me.
So how have you found your true wealth and what your passion is?
I found it by recognizing that whatever stage or state that I am in is always a lesson that's getting me closer and closer to exactly what my soul purpose has chosen.
Can you share an experience that you've gone through that was very challenging, that has gotten you to this level?
Absolutely. I'd love to
if you don't mind.
Absolutely. I'm totally open, and I'm very comfortable with where I am in life, and I'd love to share. Let me tell you, the bright side of life was birthed because I lived in a very unhealthy, toxic relationship for 18 years. In October 2007, which will be 5 years exactly this year, I made a decision to leave that relationship. I also left, quote unquote, the wealth. I lived in a very comfortable lifestyle, a lifestyle that society sometimes tells us that this is how you're supposed to be. In fact, I didn't even know who Sahar was. I called myself
You lost yourself. Sarah.
For many years.
Oh, wow, you changed your name?
I changed my name because I didn't know who I was. And so when I left that relationship, I also left all the things behind, and I began by starting a women's group in my family room. Now keep in mind, I started with nothing and no support from anyone, not my parents, my ex-husband, friends. I felt I was alone. And I said, Sahar, you're not gonna be alone. So I started with a group, not only to be able to be supported, but I also want to be able to support. And you know, Cheryl, when we come from a place of service, that's when things begin to align for us.
Absolutely.
And so I wanted to serve,
give,
and I wanted to give. And I relied on trusting the process. The money showed up, the right people showed up, the members began to increase because I trusted the process. I knew that everything will align because I knew I started my purpose. And so that's the practice. I meditated. I worked with many coaches, many spiritual healers. I continued to learn to love Sahar, accept me for who I am.
Yeah.
And I learned to detach myself from the good opinions of others.
Oh boy, and there's lots of opinions.
There's a lot of good opinions out there.
Yes.
And so I really focused my attention, how can I stay really focused on serving women to the highest that I can, and I know everything will unfold. There was always food on my table.
Yeah.
There was always money for my rent, always money to pay my bills. I had plenty of friends. But did I have a challenge time? Absolutely. I went through bankruptcy, foreclosure, IRS auditing. I had to sell my gold. I mean, reality, it was tough. I lived in a dark side of life. And every month I showed up at the bright side of life. It was a metaphor for me.
Yeah, sure, sure. Well, I noticed that you do have men involved with your company too. I mean, you have speakers that are men.
Yes.
So it isn't just
No.
it isn't just women.
Well, the majority of our audience are women, and just recently I invited men because men are divine as well. And
of course.
men are our partners in life.
Yeah,
and,
we need to work together.
Enlightened men, there's so many wonderful ones. I have 1 or 2 men that are on our team right now. And I absolutely, anyone who carries a gift and a message,
Yes.
they're more than welcome to come to the bright
Absolutely.
side of life.
Yeah.
Yes, it doesn't have to be just women.
So tell me a little bit more about Bright Side of Life.
Sure. The Bright Side of Life, we gather the last Thursday of each month, where we bring women together to celebrate our beauty, our connection, and our strength as women, not just for our businesses, but for our personal. The topic I'm going to have in November, it's going to be called Belong, Why Human Hearts Have the Long to Belong. And I talk about 3 different communities in which we all need to belong to and understand where we fit in. The
3
first
different communities?
3 communities, our personal communities.
Oh, yeah.
Who are we hanging out with?
Yeah.
Who is our friends or relationships in our life? Do we have toxic relationships we need to let go of?
Yeah.
What relationships we need to invite into our life? What is our personal life looks like with all the relationships? Who makes you laugh? You know, who encourages you to be in the spiritual being that you are?
Absolutely.
And then the other one is our business community. What kind of community do you have around your business? Your mentors, your teachers, your coaches. What are you doing? Who are your clients? How much income are you attracting? How are you showing up so that income or abundance is showing up in your life? And then the last is the global piece, which I am it's so dear to my heart, because we all need to have a global purpose of some sort. We all need to be able to serve globally. And America is global as well. We keep forgetting that.
Well,
we might have to go overseas, but we could.
We have a melting pot of every community here.
Absolutely.
Right here.
Absolutely.
I mean, I grew up with it, even though I'm 4th generation Californian. I grew up because my father was with Boeing. So it's so important to have that outreach. We're all from somewhere other than here.
Yes, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
It's,
and what I mean by that is I encourage my members, I encourage everyone to really look at this beautiful globe of ours and to ask themselves, what can I do to reach out to another global sister and learn about that country of hers? What part of the world do I want to contribute to?
Yeah.
What is it that I want to do to leave my fingerprints, something that I have done towards peace and love?
I say make a difference. I mean,
Absolutely.
I've been saying that for years, especially to set an example for my daughter. Is I want to make a difference everywhere I go in a positive way.
Absolutely.
And I keep saying unconditional love, because that's what it takes to break those barriers.
But it's not just about talking about it. It's talking the talk and walking the walk.
Absolutely.